It had been 2 months since Najib Razak last sat in the accused dock in Judge Muhammad Nazlan Muhammad Ghazali's courtroom. And this morning, after the prosecution had spent over 50 days presenting their case, the judge ruled that there was a prima facie case against the former Prime Minister and ordered him to enter his defense in the SRC International trial. Najib chose to go on the witness stand to give his sworn testimony. By the Malaysian Insight, this is The People vs. Najib Razak. Follow us into the courtroom where it all happens. I'm Patrick Teo. Najib pulled up to court discreetly this morning. No police outriders were provided to escort him after the service was put to a halt last week. No reason was given. But the court lobby was already buzzing with activity. His supporters had returned in full force, mostly women clad in red headscarves. They represented UMNO, Malaysia's largest opposition party. Many of them reached out to shake the former PM's hands. The media horde was back too, after a diminished presence since the trial started. Reporters tapped away at their phones furiously, and the sound of camera clicks filled the air as photographers tried to get the perfect shot. It was a big day after all. The day it would be decided if Najib would be called to enter his defense or if he would walk free. The man of the hour looked happy as he exited his car, a bright orange tie contrasting his black pinstripe suit. He was accompanied by his son Nizar and daughter Nuriana. His first stop was Judge Colin Sakera's courtroom. While the SRC trial was on break, pending Judge Nazlan's decision, Najib was still a frequent visitor of the Kuala Lumpur courts. He has been sitting in another trial, the 1MDB Tanor proceedings. At 10 a.m., Najib and his lawyers made their way to Judge Nazlan's courtroom a floor above. In the SRC trial, Najib is accused of receiving 42 million ringgit worth of illicit funds into his personal bank accounts. The money was allegedly funneled in between December 2014 and early 2015 from a former 1MDB subsidiary called SRC International. This particular trial involved just 7 of 42 charges levelled against him. While waiting for Judge Nazlan to arrive, Najib sat in the first row of the public gallery chatting with his aide. The courtroom was filled to the brim with his supporters and reporters. Even the standing room was occupied. Najib is represented by his lead counsel, Shafi Abdullah, his right-hand man, Havinderjit Singh, or Harvey, along with half a dozen other lawyers. On the prosecution side is Attorney General Tommy Thomas, assisted by V. Shitambaram and the Public Prosecutor's Office. The sound of the buzzer signaled the start of proceedings, and Najib, who by now has sat through almost 100 days of legal proceedings, knew to make his way to the accused dock. His 2 trusted yellow pillows were waiting for him, providing some comfort against the hard wooden bench of the dock. After listening to testimonies by 57 witnesses brought in by the prosecution, Judge Nazlan finally came to the decision that there was a prima facie case against Najib. What that means is that the prosecution had shown enough evidence for the trial to proceed to the second phase, for Najib to enter his defense and for his team to call their witnesses. The judge found that because of Najib's dual positions as Prime Minister and Finance Minister, the accused was able to utilize SRC to his private advantage. The judge found that the prosecution had established a prima facie case for one abuse of power charge relating to Section 23 of the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission Act, 3 counts of criminal breach of trust relating to Section 409 of the Penal Code, and 3 counts of money laundering relating to Section 41A of the Anti-Money Laundering and Anti-Terrorism Financing Act 2001. Nazlan said that evidence submitted by the prosecution sufficiently showed that Najib abused his office for the purposes of obtaining gratification. The judge said evidence showed Najib used his position in cabinet meetings between 2011 and 2012 to set in motion the approval of up to 4 billion ringgit in loans from Retirement Fund Incorporated, or KWAP, to SRC. It is from these loans that the 42 million ringgit eventually found its way into Najib's personal and bank accounts. The judge also said SRC was no ordinary company. Najib had deprived SRC of 42 million ringgit, and the evidence showed that the money was a wrongful gain, as Najib had issued personal checks from this amount. Despite the accused allegedly being shocked at discovering the money in his account, Najib did not order anyone to lodge a police report or file any legal suits against the bank for irregularities. The judge said the crime of misappropriation occurred when the funds left SRC before the money even entered his account, as Najib was placed in charge of the entity. Here is what Judge Nazlan said. In conclusion, in light of the foregoing summary, upon a maximum evaluation of all evidence adduced before me at the end of the prosecution stage, involving an assessment of the credibility of the prosecution witnesses and the drawing of inferences admitted by the prosecution evidence as tested in cross-examination, in my judgment, the prosecution has successfully adduced credible evidence, proving each and every essential ingredient of the offences of abuse of position for gratification, criminal breach of trust, and money laundering as framed in the charges, in relation to any of which, if unrebutted or unexplained, would warrant a conviction. Najib was then given 3 options. 1. Keep silent and be convicted. 2. Make an unsworn statement from the dock. Or 3. Give his sworn testimony from the witness stand, after which he will be cross-examined by prosecutors. Najib, who kept a stoic expression while the judge read out his judgment, chose option 3. He will take the witness stand to give his sworn testimony. The SRC International trial will convene again in December. And if you need a refresher on proceedings so far, we suggest listening to this podcast from episode 1 to follow the drama as it unfolded. This podcast is produced, written and mixed by Revati Subramaniam, Yap Pek Kwan, Yvonne Lim and Ravin Palanisamy. Additional reporting by Beed Hong. I'm Patrick Teo.